And we are back. When we left off, we were able to load and save the objects, and we are not able to load some specific objects yet, but we can load all our crates here, as you can see. So when we left off, we also talked about the fact that the old objects are not deleted, and we will need to delete the old objects so that we actually replace the old objects instead of just loading some new objects on top of them. So to do that, we have to jump back into our save game manager here. And inside our load function of the save game manager, we will have to add some functionality for deleting all our old objects. And we can do that by, first of all, running through all objects in the savable objects list. So we say for each game object, or let's just call it a savable object, and we just call it object in our savable objects. So now we run through all the objects in our savable objects list. If our object is null, so if it exists, if we haven't deleted it by any mistake or deleted it somehow, we'll have to destroy our object.gameObject. So we take our savable object and destroy the game object in our game world. And when we are done with this, we will have to say savable objects.clear, because when you destroy an object from your game world, it's not deleted from the list here. There's still a null reference in the list, and to prevent the list for having empty null references on it, we simply just clear it to empty it out. So this makes sure that we delete everything. So let's try to save, and let's go back into Unity, run the game, and if we load now, you'll see that all the other objects disappeared. We don't have all these objects behind our new loaded objects here. So if we move these around and we now press load, you'll see that the old ones are deleted and the loaded ones are back at their normal position. Okay, so let's do something about the object type, because right now we load crates no matter of what kind of object we have. So we can jump back into our script, and in here we'll have to add something to our save function on the savable object here. In the save function, we'll also have to tell it what kind of object type we have, and we already have the object type up here, but we need to make this one serializable. So it's a serialized field, and then we have to say that we add the object type here, string. I'm not even sure, we don't need to string, I think. And then we add an underscore in between the position and the object type, so that when we load this, we know that we need to use the array.split, string.split on the underscore here. So if we do that, then we can separate the object type from our position here. So now we need to go back here in Unity, click on our prefabs. We can see we have the object type crate, that's correct. The mushroom is also a crate, so we'll have to click on the mushroom and select it as mushroom, and the same goes for our stones. So now they have the correct object type. Make sure that it also updated what was inside your scene here. Make sure that they all have the right tag on them. The right object type on them. If they don't, then your save function is not going to work correctly. So now we're saving that. But we'll also have to use this functionality in our load function, and that's in our save game manager. So in here, we somehow have to make sure that we are loading the correct prefab based on our object type. And we can do that by changing our string values into an array. So we split them between the object type and the vector. So if we make the square brackets back here on our string, and we go behind our toString here and click, make a dot and make split, and we say that it needs to split on the underscore we just created. So this should make I think I maybe need to make it like this. This should give you the functionality for splitting it into an array, but I have to make the right conversion here. Give me a sec. I need to go out here. There we go. Dot split, and it needs to be a underscore like this. Okay, there we go. So now I load the string and I split it into an array by using the underscore, so that the values here contains on index 0 the object type, and on index 1 it contains the position. So right now it takes in values which is not an array, so we need to go back to our specific object and change the string values here to an array as well. And we need to go back into a savable object and change the string into values as well. And here we go. So we also need to change this in a minute, but let's just go back to Save Game Manager and do this correct. First of all, we need to make a switch case, and we need to switch on our values position 0. So we move values on top of the switch, and we need to switch on values 0. So value 0 is our what is called our object type. So case, if our values 0 is for example what did we have, crate. So if our value 0 is crate, then we need to instantiate a crate. If our value 0 is a stone, then we need to create a stone. And if it's a mushroom, then we need to create a mushroom. So we need to take this object here, cut it and paste it in here at this line of code. And here we need to create the crate. On the next line we'll need to create a stone, and on the last line here we'll need to create the mushroom. So value 0 contains the correct object type, and then we're going to look at the object type and create the right object. Right now we have 3 objects called temp, and that's not correct, so we need to take game object, cut it and put it up here and set it equal to null. And then we have to use temp down here without the class in front of it. There we go. So now we instantiate the correct object based on the object type. And down here we just make an if statement. This is if temp isn't null. So we need to make sure that we check if one of these were called before we actually try to load it. We shouldn't be able to get through here without setting it for anything. But we're just checking if it's null to make sure. We could also make a default one and just instantiate something, but maybe we don't want to do that. Okay, so now we have the load function out here in the Save Game Manager, correct? Which means that we need to go back to our savable object and set it correctly. So the transform, the local position, is actually inside values position 1. There we go. So position 1 contains our vector, so that's why I'm giving it position 1 here. Let's try to save the game out here. If we run it now and we save and we load, then everything has its own the correct sprite, which means if I would take the crate here, move it up here outside, take the mushroom, move it down here, and take the stone, move it up here, and I load, then everything pops back in place with the correct sprite on it. So that's how you can actually load the correct prefab based on what we actually saved. I think that's it for this video. In the next video, we will have a look at how we can save the rotation and the scale of the object. And then further down the road, we will have to start looking at how we can save the specific object instead. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and like my Facebook page. Also, remember that Inscope Studios is a community founded page, so if you haven't done it already and you really like my tutorials, then please don't forget to support me somehow, either by going to the Patreon page, where you can get some different perks like private tutoring, or you can get all my projects, or support me by simply just getting this project here or any of my other projects by clicking the link on the screen right now. Thank you again.